what we basically do is we take an approach to supporting our people not only in the areas of operational risk, but also in all of the mechanisms that they use to manage risk across their organisation. Traditionally, insurers will simply provide some tools and resources around risk control in the areas of insurable risk that they're interested in. And that's okay, but what we know is translating that into a human services environment is very difficult given that balance of risk and the inherent unpredictability of people, particularly little people, which is an area that we have a lot of exposure to. So what we need to do is, what are the systematic areas? How do we support that organisation to be good at managing risk regardless of how the risk presents? So what we look at here is, we call this the governance house or the risk management house. All of these elements, governance is the underpins everything, that's our foundation. If you can get really good risk governance happening in your organisation, and this applies for yours as well as for your clients, then you have a whole heap of systems or tools or pillars that help you achieve that. Risk control is just one of them. We help with the enterprise risk in terms of what are the strategic risks, how does that affect their purpose, and remember that we're, to coin David's term, we're working with organisations largely profit for purpose organisations, so their achievement of their purpose is very fundamental to their existence. Given the accreditation and quality environment, these organisations all require a comprehensive quality and compliance regime. You've seen in the costings in this area, there's not a lot of money for infrastructure there, so that's where we're looking at providing digital solutions. Right across the quality, continuous improvement and compliance and accreditation. All of those things contribute to organisational performance. At Ansvar, we take the whole of client and the whole of insured and the whole of organisation approach to how we develop risk solutions, so that we not only just we provide the whole solution and give them an understanding of how they can, through their leadership and their governance, ensure that that gets into place. The other difference in our approach to risk management support is that we work with the maturity of the organisation. And I see some clients in the room where we've had this discussion about, where do you think you are in your risk management journey, for want of a better word? How mature is your organisation in being able to take these risk tools and embed them across your organisation? Because there's no point jumping right ahead if you've got some fundamentals to get in place first. So that's where we might help with some, if someone's in the developing stage where they really haven't got their risk management framework in place, we work with them on the framework, and then we start helping them to go and embed some of those risk controls throughout the organisation. So what is the Ansvar Risk Management Services Suite? Well, it's made up of a number of areas. We certainly produce the risk control toolkits, and they're all there and available to you, and we're continually developing them around specific operational risk. Now, that could be to do with safeguarding, or it could be fire management, or any aspect of risk that we're involved with. We also provide, as I mentioned, the ERM support. And more in our sectors, because the need is there, we've moved into providing systems and sector-specific software platforms, of which you've seen today the 3 modules through Rapid Global that we've worked with them to develop for the sector around incident reporting, induction and staff training, and our service and maintenance auditing module. We also offer strategic supplier partnerships, and I'm going to talk, and we've talked about EmploySure. You've seen that we've established a relationship with EmploySure so that we are able to do some of the hard work for you and your clients in terms of tracking down where is the most cost-effective, best services that they can tap into that we can see here in Australia, and Employsure is an example of that, and I'll talk about another one in a moment. We also, under our enterprise risk management, work in the strategic risk workshop space. So we work with boards of our insureds to help them understand what is their strategic risk profile, and we've actually run a number of NDIS workshops with some of our disability service providers who, with their boards, to help them understand some of the discussions they need to have that Rowan took you through earlier today. And of course, we have our site risk survey and sum insured assessment program. And we are certainly leading the way in innovation with the introduction of drones and the use of reality capture technologies that make our offering under the site risk survey the absolute best in the insurance market at this point in time. So one of the other strategic partnerships, and we have Len Haywood who's over there, if you just want to put your hand here. One of the other strategic partnerships that we have set up in order to assist our insureds with keeping their costs low is that we've partnered with Australian AIS International Group, who are a leader in the provision of referencing and the provision of criminal records checks, background screening. And as I said, there is a much stronger requirement across all of our sectors now, and we as an insurer know how important it is that staff working with vulnerable adults and children are appropriately screened. So AIS are able to, we have negotiated with them I know is the lowest rate in the market for those types of checks, and they can also provide very comprehensive reference checking where it's required. So that will be accessible through our website. You just go up there on the board, you just go to background checks, and that will take you through, and you'll get the Ansvar pricing on that. So we encourage you can use it as brokers. We're happy for you to get the benefit of that, and also any of your clients. That we're happy for you to use that. We've used the power of our ability for pricing to get the value there. So just another example of a strategic supplier market. In our ERM support, I mentioned that we provide the strategic risk workshops. This is a comprehensive program across 3 phases. Once again, we get a lot of feedback from our clients where we deliver this service, that it really helps them to establish a good grounding for their risk management. The boards in particular feel that it gives them a little bit more insight into the areas that they have to manage as a risk, those strategic risks, versus their assurance or oversight role around the operational risk. So we support them through providing, in addition, risk register tools and resources. We work with organisations to really understand their risk at a strategic level and at an operational level. And we also follow that through by having sample risk registers, or we have some formats that they can use that just helps them put some of those fundamentals in place in terms of having to meet their requirements under the accreditation and regulatory environment. What I've got here is just an example of, this is a tool that we developed for our childcare sector. And when the standards came out, many of them were struggling to understand how to conduct a strategic assessment against their ability to meet the standards. So this particular tool we developed and made available to them so that they could use it as a checklist to see whether there were any particular standards that they were likely to have a weakness in, and to be able to put some corrective actions in place prior to accreditation for their rating. Happy for you to pass that on to any of your childcare clients that are Ansvar clients as well. Also, just an example of some of the toolkits here. We've got the security toolkit for places of worship as an example of where we take a package of information or operational risks that are applicable to places of worship, and we put it into a pack for that particular client, and we have them across the range of our sectors. I've also brought up there, which we launched last year at this forum, is our business resilience toolkit and workbook. You heard with the disability sector and the change there in the funding models. Traditionally, in the space where your one source of funding was from government, and you were as a welfare model, so you were providing those services on behalf of the government. If something went wrong and you lost your building or whatever, it was incumbent on the state government to step in and assist you in how you rehouse those people or how you get your services back on track. That's no longer the case. So these organisations are going to have a very, and this is where we think you as brokers are really going to be taking this advice to them and getting them to think about it. Previously, they never really thought about business resilience and business continuity very much at all, because they always had that safety net. That also applied to their financial position. They used to get a block of funding every quarter from the government in advance, and they were always going to get it. And then they just had to go about in the next 3 months of delivering those services as they were instructed to do. Now they won't get paid until they've delivered the services, and that they've got the service recipient to sign off to say that they did receive them. Then that's got to go through to the agency, and you heard how there was a 3 or 4 month delay in getting those processed earlier today. So if they were to lose their capacity to invoice, or they were to lose their data in terms of what was outstanding, it is massive now. This is something they've never had to consider before. So we're saying as brokers, there is a really important conversation that you need to have with all your clients in these sectors who have gone traditionally from a government-funded model to a consumer model. It's not something that they have even given a lot of thought to. So we've got a tool there that can help you do that.